Was this the greatest national championship in U.S. history? Is Alekna in danger of losing yet another championship? And a new world record was shattered in a place you wouldn't expect. All this and more on this week's Throw Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Throws Show. Whoa. It's the Throw Show. I'm, of course, your host, Jason, joined, as always, by the People's Champ, Olympic trials competitor. He is the head throws coach of youth development at Throws University and, of course, Garage Strength. He is Coach Sam Weeks.
Yes, sir.
Sam, we need to get right into it today because we have so much to cover. We missed a week of filming because we've been super busy, you and I. We had our Throws University camp 2 weeks ago where Sam and Coach Dane Miller were hosting, 50 athletes? 50 athletes, trying to make them better, showing them the Throws University Garage Strength system of throwing. Super awesome event. We then also had our PowerFest event at Garage Strength where some big throws happened in the shot put and the discus. I myself were getting ready for a big travel time for Dane, so we needed to film a lot of stuff for Garage Strength, so we were unable to get a show out last week. But we're here to give you the news, to cover everything that you want to see in the world of throwing, and we're going to start off with the biggest national of every year. That is, of course, the U.S. Championship, and we're going to start off with probably the most historic throw to happen at the U.S. Championship this year, as Valerie Allman throws 71 meters, 45 centimeters at Hayward Field. If you've listened to our shows in the past or you've seen their Instagram account with her and Zeb Zion, you know that she has different personal bests based off the conditions, and she states that this is a new stadium personal best. And if you look at the history books, this is probably the farthest stadium throw by a female since 1988. So we're going back, almost 40 years now. So incredible throw by Val. Her technique has been incredible all season. She's been undefeated the last 2 years. She's looking to claim her first world title in Tokyo. We'll be getting to that shortly as we discuss her interview following this event. But oh my gosh, 71-45 for Val. She's on fire this competition. Sam, what do you see on this throw as a coach?
Dude, as a coach, it's just like one of those things where it's like, you just got to show up. Obviously, we all know that Val has arguably some of the best technique across, the events. It's just, showing up when it matters most. And who better than Val to show up, in a competition in this manner? Yep. Obviously, 71-45 is a massive toss, but her series as a whole was just so much greater than her competitors. Not to throw shade to them, but it's just like she has put herself in a position where it's just like Val. It's Val versus Val.
I mean, yes, and no shame to their competitors because obviously in this competition you had Lagi Tasaga, the reigning world champion. She got second here. But at the end of the day, Val won this competition by
a large margin.
Almost 7 meters.
Yeah.
And Lagi threw almost 65 meters. That's a phenomenal throw.
Absolutely.
But that's just how good Val is right now. 71-45. Like, if you look at this, unfortunately, and just a slight criticism, there isn't really a great angle to really watch this throw. And it's a beautiful throw. I think it's like, this is one of those things, if we had a better angle to see, this is probably the best we're ever going to get behind the circle. But this, I look at this throw and I'm like, it's flawless. I don't see where she can get better on a mark like this outside of just maybe energy and physical conditioning.
Yeah, I would say if anything, it's very, very fine details.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're just nitpicking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can't find a technical problem in this throw that you can like highlight as to like, oh, she could do this better. It's just like, this is one athlete reaching near perfection in the throw at the peak of their physical prime looks like.
Yeah, like true mastery of just your form, your technique, and the event.
Taking it back to a former term by the Soviet Union, she's a master of her sport.
Yeah.
And we actually have an interview with her, and I had a very specific question for her in mind going into this interview based off this performance.
Large crowd, 70,000 plus.
It's going to be amazing. Tokyo, to get to go. Instagram videos, I have out of control. Find so much of my career.
For you, Val.
Find so much of my career. So it'll be awesome.
And one last question for you, Val. You're a 2-time Olympic champion. You're a 2-time world medalist. You're going to Tokyo as the front runner. What do you want in Tokyo?
I really want to win. I really want to win. So I'm going to do everything I can to have a shot at it, but I'm proud of my commitment to this sport, to my event, and I know that whatever the result is something that I'll be proud of.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Val.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We know what she wants.
We know what she wants. She wants to win, but she has to show up, which she has, for the last 2 years. But if history has taught us anything could happen.
Anything is possible. And I think that's what's important to note is like how many throwers are competing right now that have thrown over 68, 69 meters. Like even in her own country, the United States, if you look at who's made this team, you have Gabby Jacobs, who we'll discuss shortly, Lagi Tasaga, both have PRs over 68 meters. Mm-hmm. So when you take that into account with athletes like Bin Fang, who's the 2022 world champion, who also beat Val at that same meet in Oregon, and Sandra, you can't forget Sandra Elkosevich. She also has been consistently medaling at the last few majors. She's not safe, in my point being. Yeah. But what I think it is like I wanted to set her up for that question in particular because I want her to just make that public statement, like anything short of a gold medal, I don't want to say is a failure, but like that's what she wants. She's had every other color in the world for the world championships, but she has not yet to have a gold medal.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the thing that holds her back from stating her claim as the greatest discus thrower of all time.
Absolutely. Like, obviously, we talk about Val being undefeated, the best of the best, like a true master of the sport, which she is in her respect. But once again, this is that one piece that's eluding her. And, I think Val is the clear favorite. But at the end of the day, it's whoever shows up. And I feel like that's, the statement of this nationals. It's whoever shows up. So,
and as I discussed earlier, I wanted to bring up Garage Strength's own Gabby Jacobs. Sam and I both had her selected to make this world team. A part of that is going to be, personal bias. Gabby's a great person. We've had the privilege of training with her. She started training with Garage Strength this year. She's had a phenomenal season, increased her personal best by over 5 meters, going over 68 meters this year. So we knew she had the ability to throw super, super far, but it's one of those things, she still needed to prove it. She's yet to make an international team for the United States, but as we'll discuss throughout this show, as we discuss the national championship, this weekend was all about round 6 bombs, and Gabby was one of those main competitors to prove it. She was sitting, I believe, in 5th, 6th, maybe even 7th, somewhere even around 7th place going into this final throw. Her best was 59 meters, but she knew what she had to do. She caught that discus back as hard as she could through 63, 33 to secure a bronze medal and make her first international team. We'll get into her interview following this because personally that's one of my greatest experiences in the sport was her interview following this performance. Sam, you were watching this from home. You grabbed this video. What do you think of Gabby's performance?
Yeah, so Gabby, if you're watching this, please don't be offended with what I was saying, but you had me pulling my hair out.
What little hair you had
left. What little hair I had. It was just like a roller coaster of emotions because, like, obviously I picked Gabby to make this team, and I knew that she was very capable based off of, her previous performances. But, within the series at this meet, it didn't quite look like she was in that spot to make that team up until round 6. Right. So I was super nervous. I was like, dude, like, Gabby, like, don't end the year this way. Like, we got to make this team. Like, we've talked about this so many times, like making that team, like, please, like, just click, like, find that one throw so you can hit it. So when she hit that last one, like, obviously I'm watching at home, like, I could just tell, like, yo, she actually hit one. And then to see, like, where it landed, I was like, yo, like, she solidified her spot making this team. Like, I was at the gym. I was running around the gym. Like, I was super happy because it's like, and this is all bias, 100% bias, but it's like, if there's anyone who deserves, that spot through hard work and, like, earning your, I guess, way there, it's Gabby, 100%.
Yeah, and I think there are 3 notes I want to make in regards to this. The first big note is Gabby's history. So this is something that personally I wasn't even aware of until prior to the championship. Was she took about 2 years off from the sport. She became a bit disillusioned with it, struggled with the early post-collegiate side of the sport, but then sort of had like an inkling to return 2 years ago, and had a very good conversation with her father, and basically said, like, if she was going to return to the sport, it had to be under her own terms in regards to her relationship to the sport, that she had to do it because she wanted to, not because there was an expectation that she had to put on herself. And that's probably one of the hardest opponents for any thrower to deal with, is the fear of expectation, of thinking you're not good enough. Therefore, like, it can impact every part of your life beyond just throwing. And she came back with a positive mindset, realized she needed to make a change in regards to her coaching situation, came to Garage Strength, started working with Dane, and then within the first year saw pretty immediate results, which is actually kind of rare for a post-collegiate. So knowing that she took 2 years off, knowing that there was a lot she had to, like, make up for in regards to that lost time, two other aspects I want to bring up was her training sessions leading into this competition. The first training session when we land in Oregon, because I landed like half an hour before her and Sam, we go straight from Eugene Airport to the stadium for an open workout. Gabby was all over the place, and like to the point where she shanked one so far left out of the sector that it landed like in lane 4 of the track. Now, what you have to understand is, based off of where this circle is, that is really far. Where she threw the discus. Now, it was like, we were watching this and we're like, how did she make it go that far? And it was like, we knew, like, she had the power. 2 days later, we had another training session with Sam, and we have this like private facility that we go to throw discus. And I've seen the guys train there, the last few years. So I'm kind of used to like where people normally throw there. I'm usually used to seeing Sam throw between like 63 and 65 meters there. But when she was throwing, bro, I'm kid you not, she was launching between like 66 to 68 meters, like most of her throws.
Yeah.
Just bombing them, brother. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my God. She, like, but now the problem was, and I talked about this even in her interview, she had some issues with control, and she was like fouling them really bad. But dude, the amount of power in Gabby is like, she's up there with Val and Loggy 100% in terms of just raw power. It's just about her controlling it and getting that long-term development. So I knew what she was capable of going into this competition, but it was just one of those things we were nervous about her movement and whether or not she could stay in the ring. Yeah. So if you look even on this throw, she kind of keeps a lot of her weight on her back foot and tries to keep everything, all of her weight and energy back in the circle to make sure she doesn't foul. And she still throws 63.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. I will say that is a movement pattern of Gabby.
Yeah.
If you guys follow Throws University on the Instagram page, you can see that Dane did a lot of analysis leading up to this throw, and you can notice that that's definitely part of her pattern.
Yeah.
But you can see it now that you've noted it, that she was a little more reserved.
Yeah.
Than like normal, just to make sure, like, yo, I gotta stay in and I gotta crank. Like, I only got one more opportunity, so I gotta make it, matter.
Yeah, and she did just that. And that's where it's like, dude, every single throw counts. Like, do not waste any throws, brother. So I wanted to highlight this real quick. Here's our interview.
Hey, Gabby, give me a hug. Oh, congratulations.
One of the best interviews I've ever done.
To announce that I'm here with Gabby Jacobs. She just won the bronze medal in the U.S. Women's Discus at the National Championship to qualify for her first world team. She is going to Tokyo. Gabby, you came out strong and you threw for gold on round 6 and you walked away with a bronze medal. How do you feel?
Obviously emotional. No, I feel great. Yeah, I don't know. This has been the dream for a really long time. So I'm happy to be here. Yeah. Yeah.
Gabby, I've had the privilege to spend most of this week with you. I see how hard you've been training. And, some things are, I know you were working a lot with Dane on the technique. I know there were some frustrations, afraid that maybe the consistency wasn't going to be there. But everyone around you is telling you how good you are, how good you can be. You proved that today. Kind of walk me through the journey that got you to this moment.
Yeah, I think for me this whole season, I knew that in order to take it to the next level, I had to be really consistent. And so working with Dane specifically on cues, like 2 to 3 cues all season, and just trying to nail those in, I think allows me to go from fouling into the cage and throwing 59 and throwing 56 and then 2 fouls and then coming back and hitting that 63. Like, I know it's there. And, I'd rather do it on the first one than the last one, but to put myself in the position where I can get into finals and then have the confidence to still hit that throw when I am like probably down and out on most people's radars on the 6th throw is the thing that I've been working for all season. Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
Yeah, dude, no, like, I agree with that statement just 100%, and just, like, I agree with her emotions, because it's like, dude, you've been working all year for this one moment, and it's like, you finally got it done. Like, all the sweat, all the tears, all the dedications, all the sacrifices that you had to make to put yourself in that position to, finally do it, it's just like, you couldn't ask for a better story. You know what I mean?
I think that's exactly it. And what I love is like the emotion on her face is just like, dude, this is why we do the sport, man. Like it gets you choked up because like this stuff matters.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is like one of the greatest moments in her life. And the fact that we as a team got to share that with her was something I'll never forget. Congratulations, Gabby. And before we move on, I do kind of want to mention Shelby Frank also had a huge round 6 bomb thrown over 61 meters. And she actually kind of did the same thing that her partner, Marcus Gustin, who we'll cover later on in this episode, did as well, where he qualified on his last throw. She qualified on her last throw because Loggy has the bye. Her getting 4th put her into the standing to make that world team. So congratulations to Shelby Frank and also Loggy, because Loggy did compete. She didn't have to. When I spoke to Loggy, her whole take was she wants to be consistent, and she's been consistent this whole year. Multiple meets over 65 meters. She threw just short of 65 meters at this meet, and she's so proud of herself because Loggy, was in a similar position to like, where Gabby's been, where it's like the inconsistency could kind of catch up to you. But, now I think we might be sending the best U.S. women's team, one of the best in history to this world championship. And it's exciting to see because I think we could see, definitely, I think we could see 3, maybe even 4 women make this final. And that's very cool to know that the potential's there and the depth is there in the women's discus.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And we'll get into the women's hammer real quick as DeAnna Price said new season's best. I talked to her as well following this competition. She threw 78.53, 2 throws over 78 meters. DeAnna has looked great all season. Her shape, overall conditioning, she says she feels better than she's had in years. And I think what's cool to see is watching her. It's like, this is the DeAnna that we saw in 21, who broke the American record, becoming the second woman to ever throw 80 meters. Yeah. So it's exciting for me to see where DeAnna could be at Worlds. She's already a world champion. what could this mean for Worlds in regards to, facing, Brooke again, facing the defending world and Olympic champion Cameron Rogers. What do you think of DeAnna's performance?
Dude, yeah, no, we've had several conversations about DeAnna and just how smooth she looks and how, great of shape she's been in. So, like, for her to go out there and, do this, it's, like, not really a surprise, but it's, like, one of those things where it's, like, we know we're going to be in a good shape if, our top are doing, these things. Obviously, you have Brooke. You have, obviously, DeAnna. You have Janae. And you have Rachel, who was, my favorite pick, my biased pick. Yep. But it's like, dude, those are 4 athletes who, have been throwing extremely far, for the last few years. Yep. Obviously, Rachel being that, like, newcomer amongst the group. But it's like, when you think about Operation, like, Hammer Sweep, like, U.S. Hammer Sweep, like, it is in full go. Like, we can do this. Like, it's,
Cameron's hard to beat.
Cameron is hard to break.
Cameron's very hard to beat.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
She is, like, she's the top dog right now. Like, she's top dog. Like,
I would call her, like, the queen of consistency.
Yes.
Because she is probably the most consistent hammer thrower in the world.
100%.
Right.
But we're sending 4 dogs.
Yeah, we are.
4 dogs.
So when you think about it, we're sending 2 former world champions. We're sending a former 2-time world medalist in Janae. And we're sending the number 5 all-timer in Rachel Richardson. Yes. So you're right. Like, this is probably, in terms of depth, the best women's hammer squad we've ever had on a team. It's a shame that Annette did not have the meet that she was looking for. She's a great person. She's been a great champion. But at the end of the day, like, all these women they're peaking at the right time. Yes. And we'll even see that with Janae. So Janae got 4th here. And one thing I wanted to bring up is when we recorded the throw show initially, we didn't know that Brooke had the bye. Yeah. And we only learned that, I think I only learned that 3 days prior to this competition. And I asked Brooke about that, and she basically said that the World Athletics told her that she had the bye 1 week prior to this championship. So before anyone's like, oh, we weren't reporting the news properly, the athlete didn't even know that she had the bye. Yeah. So, when you think about it, how it changes up everything, Brooke's whole worldview changed so dramatically within a week. Yeah. Of, oh, my gosh, I need to, get top 3, blah, 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 to, oh, it's just another meet for me, technically. Mm-hmm. But she still competed well. She got, 2nd place throwing over 75 meters. I was very happy to see that Janae threw far enough to make that team because I know her failing to make the Olympic team last year was very hard on her. So I got to reconnect with her and I were former teammates at Kansas State. So it was very cool to see that she's progressed, and we'll discuss her later in this episode. She actually ended up winning the NACAC title, which we'll discuss at the end of the show. But very cool to see what how deep the women's squad is for the hammer throw, but also guys, keep an eye out for DeAnna, because not only are we seeing someone who could win the world title, we might even be seeing another 80-meter throw this year out of her.
Squad deep.
And we'll get into the men's hammer. Rudy has been continuing the season of his life. Another dominant performance over 81 meters, multiple throws over 80 meters again. And, the squad we're sending in the hammer is also very strong. One thing I want to highlight, we're talking about round 6 bombs, and people have talked before about Hayward Magic. Trey Knight had what I thought was going to be the throw of the week when he initially hit it. This was day 1 of the championship, throwing over 78.90, I believe, to hit a new personal best, hit the world standard, get 2nd place, make the world team. And what's also on top of that is you're talking about a guy who was going to be the front runner for the NCAA championship, fouled out at the regionals and didn't even get a chance to compete in the NCAA championship as a senior. Yep. Comes out, throws over 78.90 round 6 to stake his claim. And that was one of the coolest things to see, because talking with Trey Knight is the first time I ever met him. Very, very nice, down to earth guy. Yeah. And he's an incredible athlete. Rudy and Daniel Hall, I kind of mentioned this to Rudy, is like, they're kind of like the elder statesmen of the men's hammer throw. They've been making all the teams the last few years consistently. It's almost like they're the 2010s, 2020s version of Lance Steele and Judd Logan. They're that pair. They're that consistent and that synonymous with hammer throwing in the United States. So what did you think of this overall competition? What did you think of Rudy's performance and just the team that we're sending to Tokyo?
I like this team.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Obviously, like, Rudy and Danny Hall, like, we both had them on our lists. Trey Knight, I think, was... I was talking to my buddy Brandon Amo. He coaches at Virginia. We were saying that Trey Knight's the MVP. Like, for a guy who missed out on NCAAs, like, that's a tough hit.
Yeah.
But for you to believe in yourself so much that it's like, all right, no, I'm going to accept that for what it is, especially as a senior. I'm accept that for what it is, and I'm going to keep believing in myself, and I'm going to go to this championship, and I'm going to put myself in a position to, see what happens. For him to do that on round 6, to, hit a huge PR, for him to hit the world standard,
yep.
and for him to, beat Danny Hall. Like, he beat Danny Hall. He got second. Like, that is huge. Like, I feel like that wasn't talked about as much, and we need to give Trey his flowers. Like,
yeah,
we need to give him his flowers. Like, he personally, my MVP, obviously talking to Brandon, like, his MVP, like, he was the MVP of this weekend.
Yeah, and it's just when you know that backstory going into it makes this throw seem that much more special, because it is.
It is.
One thing I wanted to bring up is, so I interviewed Rudy following this competition, and I just wanted to... I asked him this one question.
This is going to be my last question, Rudy. You've been on numerous Olympic teams, numerous world teams. You've come so close in the past with 4th place finishes. What do you want in Tokyo?
What do I want? I want a consistent performance, and I think a consistent performance will bring a medal. I would love a medal, but I think a big part of my evolution through the sport compared to me in 2016 is that I know getting a medal isn't going to change who I am, but I think it's possible. It's one of the big goals I still have in the sport, and I would love to be able to get that, and I think it's possible, so I'm gonna go for it as best I can. Yeah.
Well,
all right, if we turn down the humble meter, all I heard was, I'm getting a medal. I'm getting a medal. All right. Obviously, the humble meter was a little high, so he had to give his safe answer. But I heard, I'm coming home with a medal this year.
Yes. The thing is with Rudy is very, very polite. He might be like the most polite thrower in the world. So he said it as diplomatically as possible. But I also know from the years that I've chatted with Rudy, that dude at the end of the day is a dog. Like, that dude is an athlete, and he's got that athlete, he has that competitive mindset that you need to be an elite athlete. Like Sam says, public facing though, he's going to be very modest. Yeah. But that dude, this is his best chance to podium, and I'm so glad. I just want him to say it. Yeah. That I'm like, you're good enough. Like, I just want you to say that you know you're good enough.
Yeah.
And dude, I hope he does it. He's a good dude. That's the number one thing. But number 2, he's one of the best hammer throwers, not only currently, but of all time. And I think this is Rudy's time. And I wanted to bring up Trey Knight because very similar, not the same type of question, but I wanted to at least give him his flowers, because I felt like what you said, it was sort of, despite his performance, there were so many other competitions going on at the same time that I feel like people didn't really fully appreciate what he did. And I wanted to give Trey his flowers, because throughout this interview, he made it very apparent that his dream since he was a kid, because he's been throwing hammer since early high school. Mm-hmm. All he wanted to do was be considered an elite hammer thrower. That's like what he wanted. That was his life's goal. Now, here's what I tell him.
To say, I'm officially going to state, you are one of the best hammer throwers in the entire world. How does it feel to hear that?
It's pretty special. Like I said, since I was 10, I wanted to be in this position, be on these teams, do these big things. And to see, like I said, it's having people, hearing it helps a lot. Like, just to be able to have someone else say that to me it's really special, and I really appreciate it.
Of course, man.
Well, all I can say is you made it.
Yeah.
You made it.
I didn't even realize he said 10. 10.
10, yes. That's a very long time.
That's over half his life that he's been wanting to be considered a world-class athlete in track and field. That's freaking cool.
If you learn anything from that, don't give up.
Don't
give up on your dreams. Don't give up. You'll find a way. You'll make it happen.
One thing I'll say is this is ultimately what Throws U's about. We're for the dream chasers. We're for the dreamers. This is why you want to learn from these athletes, learn from these coaches, because we're ultimately here to help you achieve those dreams. So I want to get into the men's discus now. The men's discus, not the same type of depth we saw last year in the trials. I think trials was kind of shocking in terms of the overall performances. But we still saw a phenomenal competition where Reggie Jagers, the 2018 national champion, walked away with another national title. Our very own Garage Strengths, Sam Mattis, won another silver medal at the championship, qualifying for another another major. And we saw the surprise bronze medalist making his first ever team, Marcus Gustafson, doing it again on round 6. This was a very interesting competition to watch because you felt like anyone could pass to win the championship at any time. Congrats to Reggie. He got it done. I know he sent a really big season's best earlier, like 2 weeks prior to this meet. But Sam continued to show just consistency throwing again over 65 meters. And Marcus, again, with what we saw with Trey Knight, showed the belief in himself that he could be one of the best in the world and throw over 64 meters to get bronze and make his first team. What do you think of this competition as a whole?
Yeah, no, I thought this competition was very entertaining. Yeah. Obviously, we've talked about on previous throw shows like Sam usually opening up big on round 1, which, he did. He went 64, but I knew, and I had a conversation, outside of the throw show, and I was like, yo, whoever goes 66 first is going to win. Like, they're gonna claim it. And obviously, throughout the competition, like, we're building. We're seeing very consistent marks. Especially through Sam, Reggie's, building through, but I think Reggie hit 65 before he went 66.
I don't remember the exact
I don't remember, but I know
stats,
he went big, and it's like, he just put himself, like, he's on the team. Yeah. Like, we knew, like, he's on the team. So it's like, okay, Reggie did his thing, shout out to Reggie. I'm giving him his flowers. He did his thing. We obviously knew Sam was going to make the team because, he opened up really, really well and was very consistent. And I was like, okay, who is going to take that third spot? Obviously, everyone's duking it out. I forget what position Marcus was in before his round 6, but it was just like, dude, it's like, okay.
I think he was in 5th place?
It was somewhere around the middle of the pack because I know Andrew was in
3rd.
Yeah, he was in contention to make that team, and Marcus, he channeled it. He hit it, and the thing was, from the broadcasting stream, watching it from that side angle, as soon as it left his hand, I was like, dude, that's a big toss. Like, it just might be the discus thrower in me, but I knew immediately that was a big toss, and seeing where it landed, I popped off. I was at the gym. Oh yeah, I was popping off, bro. I was like, it was crazy to me because it was like, obviously you called it. You said just based off of like what you were able to see and based off his performances, you had a feeling that he was gonna make the team, and look what happened.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it was like that impressive that I made that call. The dude threw 70 meters at the beginning of the season, so it's like, he clearly showed he was in good shape most of the year. But I'll get into that a little bit later because I have a cool story behind that, actually. But first, let's talk about Sam. So we don't have any video of Reggie or Marcus's throws, unfortunately, but we do have videos of Sam because Sam, actually got the footage for us. So thank you, Sam. And 65-56. This is a solid throw for Sam. What I like is how consistent he's been this whole season over 65. And what I also like to see, as knowing Sam, following his career for as long as I have, seeing him actually build throughout a competition. Because so often we see Sam hit those round 1, round 2 bombs, and then he doesn't really rise up to match that level of intensity later on in comp. So to see him do that in this one was like nice to see, and has me confident that he's like in a good space going into Worlds. So knowing that not only if let's say he doesn't hit a great round 1, he knows he can come back and hit a great round 2, round 3, great final when he makes the final. That is important growth that I think we're seeing in Sam now, which is exciting to see. But you being the professional discus thrower that you are, what do you see on his throw here? What do you think maybe you could have seen better that you've seen in previous throws? If there is any. I'm also putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I have the privilege to train with Sam, so I get to see his movement on a daily basis, and I know what him and Dane are working on. I guess not to, like, give out secrets. It's not really a secret. It's the end of the year, but I know the biggest thing is, like, that consistency. Obviously, you know, throwing far when it matters most. I say that a bunch, but it's the truth. And it was just like really, you know, establishing that big toss in that first one and then just continuing to build, which, you know, we saw and he executed fairly well. Right. I know he really wanted gold. He really wanted to win. Yeah. And, you know, he was very close to winning. It's just Reggie had a better day. You know, Reggie has been putting in a lot of work. You know, I know he's been dealing with some injuries. He was able to put himself in a position to take the gold, and you know I got to give him his flowers for that. But you know Sam was very, very close, and you know him and Dane have been locking in with the technique, and he did well.
Yeah, it's a good throw for him. I don't really have too much else to say other than, you know, Sam's made another major, and he's made every single major since 2019, and like that's got to be acknowledged because he's Mr. Consistency in the United States. And that is what carries you into those major championships that I think has been difficult for other discus throwers in the past since Mason Finley. Mm-hmm. So I really want to see Sam make another final, but I really want to see him like challenge those top dogs at Worlds. And like, if he could get a top 5 finish, because unfortunately the men's discus and the women's discus and has kind of fallen the ways of like the men's shot put in that, oh, you just happen to be throwing in the greatest era of your sport ever. Yeah. So it's like, you know, we might see 70 meters, you know, be what it takes to medal in Tokyo, but I think Sam could definitely be challenging those upper marks when he gets there, which is exciting to see. Actually, I want to cover this first. So Marcus and Sam had this really cool celebration. I'm going to redo this again. I'm just going to restart you here. Okay. So Marcus rode Sam. So this is footage that I filmed post competition where basically Marcus rides Sam in basically, I can't describe it any other way except like Mario riding a Yoshi. To celebrate their championship, making the team together. And I filmed this, talked to Marcus for a little bit, and where I want to circle back to in regards to my story is the first thing Marcus says to me, because I'm right there, you know, filming, you know, the celebration, filming Sam talk to Dane, stuff like that. Marcus is there and goes up to me. He's just like, yo, you called this. I was like, what are you talking about? Because I wasn't thinking about what we did in the throw show previous. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's just like, you said I was going to make this team. And I watched the throw show a week prior to this event, and what that told me was there are other people that I don't even really know that believe I can do this. So why do I have any doubt in myself that I can do this? And he's like, that was sort of like, not to say that's had like, I had any impact on like Marcus's performance, because I don't want to make that claim at all. But I think what was cool to hear was like, he just wanted to have like an outside voice saying you're good enough. And I think that's what's cool about like throws media with where it's going, with a lot more throwers trying to put out more stuff, is I think it's also spreading a culture of positivity around other athletes. And with a guy like Marcus, who's such a nice guy, like if you have a chance to meet Marcus, please go up and meet him. He's one of the nicest guys you can possibly meet. Super down to earth, really good dude. And like hearing that like meant a lot to me. So, you know, I wanted to reciprocate that a little bit with Marcus. And one cool thing about Marcus was, and I highly recommend if you want to learn more about his story, listen to the Throw Big, Throw Far podcast with Joe Frontier and Dan McQuaid. Now, what's important here is Dan McQuaid was actually Marcus's high school throws coach. And from Dan's perspective, he never would have guessed that Marcus would become a professional discus thrower based off his performances in high school. But you never know how life goes. He was a football player turned collegiate discus thrower, and he just stuck with it and eventually became what he became. And what was cool about this in particular is Dan McQuaid is also a registered media for this event. So I got to see Dan and Marcus share a moment in the mix zone here prior to this interview, basically saying like, you know, Dan has been supporting him throughout his whole career, and he got to interview him as he qualified for his first ever world championship. So I want to shout out Dan McQuaid, but also please check out that episode with Marcus, because it's such a cool backstory and look back, like what it takes to become a professional discus thrower. But also it's like, guys, you don't have to be one of the best in the world in high school. Like you don't. Like Marcus was like, I think 150 footer in high school, and he's now thrown basically 70 meters. Yeah. And I think it's cool to see, like, as you stick with it, what that can turn into. So I just want to quick play this real as we get into it.
Oh, hello. I am here with making his first world team going to Tokyo, the 2025 U.S. men's discus bronze medalist, Marcus Gustafson. Marcus, how do you feel right now?
Over the world. I mean, it still doesn't feel real at this point. I'm just so excited.
So, Marcus, I managed to talk to you a little bit at the track after you got the result. You were celebrating with Sam. It seems like this means a lot to you. It's clearly the emotions on your face. And I feel it was awesome to know that, you know, I had a gut feeling about you going into this competition. I just had a feeling that watching your season, knowing you threw 70 meters at the beginning of the season, unfortunately it didn't officially count by World Athletics, but you proved that you could physically do it. You backed it up with another huge toss at Ramona. Explain to me the journey to this moment. You threw 65 last year at the Olympic trials in the deepest competition in American history. So you were so close to making that Olympic team, but now you finally did it. All the patience and hard work paid off. Explain to me what this journey is, what this journey was leading up to this moment, and the culmination to finally make that team.
Yeah, I would say the biggest part of this journey was sticking with my coach, Lena Baker. I think this is year 7 or 8 now where we've been together, and everything's just really been clicking over the last 2 years. Last year I thought was really going to be my year. Unfortunately, I broke my foot going into the season, so had some obstacles there. But going into this year, we had some revenge to come back and make a team. Things have been going great with her, and I'm really excited for the future.
And one cool moment that hopefully people watch this video, your high school coach, Dan McQuaid, was here. He talked to you. He interviewed you prior to this. What does it mean to you to know that you've had your ride or die coach in the sport cheering you on this whole time? And what was it like getting to celebrate with him?
It's pretty amazing. I don't think many people can say that their high school coach is out here interviewing them at USA's. I wouldn't be in this sport if it wasn't for him. He's kept me going. He's always had my back, even when I was a young buck in here, my first year post-collegiately. You know, I was a nobody looking up to guys like Sam. And McQuaid had my back, and he was always saying, oh, you got this. Oh, you're going to throw 60 meters. You're going to do this. And, you know, it made me feel like I had a belonging in the sport and just kind of feeling like you have a dad out here. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that. Dude, honestly, if you ever get a chance to meet Dan McQuaid, please go say hi to him. That dude is probably, like, I aspire to be as pleasant as Dan McQuaid is.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about Marcus and what he's saying here?
Dude, no, like, I agree with what Marcus said. Obviously, last year he broke his foot. Yeah. I actually watched him throw a half turn, like, it was like 63, 64 meters. So it's just like, it was something ridiculous. But, like, just, you know, a performance like that, it's like, dude, he's in really good shape. That's a far throw. Like, That's very, very far. It was something ridiculous. I don't know if it was that much, but it was far. But he had a really good year. You know, he was a part of last year's trials, you know, amongst the like 7 guys over 65 meters. Like, he was one of those guys. So, like, we knew, like, oh, like, Marcus just put himself on the map. And then this year, when he opened up, you know, he threw 70. I think he followed it up with a 68, but he was very consistent, you know, this year. Yeah. You know, obviously, you know, utilizing Ramona for competitions, but it's just like still like he threw far numerous times this year, and it's just like, all right, that was good leading into a championship. Now it's just like making sure that you are one of the 3 guys who throws far, you know, to make that team. And it's just like all of that just like for that one moment. Right. And it couldn't be anyone better. Yeah. Obviously, we have a very good group of guys in the discus, but I really like this team that we're sending.
So I have a hypothetical for you. Oh, maybe it's not necessarily hypothetical, but you telling me something like this, and I watch the way Marcus moves, and I'll be honest, he probably has my favorite technique. Like, when he's on, he probably has my personally favorite technique in U.S. throws right now. Men, specifically. How untapped do you think he is?
That's a good question. I like everything about Marcus's throw outside of his left foot out of the back.
Okay.
And that's more so just our style of technique. We're more rotational, where Marcus lets his left foot stop a little bit, very similar to Alekna, but he makes it work. Yeah. But outside of that, I think Marcus has some of the most efficient technique, you know, amongst, you know, the top U.S. Men. And obviously, like, he's a big guy. Yeah. Like, he's a big fellow. So, like, having very efficient...
look how low angle, like, I have to be. Yeah. I could barely keep his head in the frame.
He's big. Having efficient technique, being strong, and having the leverages, like, you know, that's really good to have as a discus thrower.
He's built like a discus thrower.
He's built like a discus thrower. So, like... And, like, he's such a great guy. So, like, I'm rooting for him 100%. Yeah. And it's just like, dude, like, he's the perfect specimen to throw discus far. Like, there's nothing else to say. Like, he's put the work in. You know, he's stayed dedicated to it. Obviously, he had a little bit of a setback last year with the broken foot. But, you know, he's been very consistent. You know, if you watched or if you listened to the interview with, you know, Throw Big, Throw Far, you know that, you know, there's a little bit of space in between his training, but it was necessary for him to be in this position to throw far at the U.S. National Championship to make a team. So it's like, dude, like, hats off to Marcus, bro. He did his thing. There's nothing else I can say. That dude showed up.
Dude, so I'm going to make this bold claim here. If Sam doesn't break the American record, I think Marcus could do it. I really do.
I think there's a list of guys who could do it, but Marcus is definitely up there. Mm-hmm. He threw 70 meters, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't count by World Athletics. And one thing to note about that 70-meter throw is that didn't happen to Ramona.
No.
That happened at TCU. Yeah. It's just the way that meet was set up was not ready for a performance like that, so it didn't count. Yeah. And that was more a logistics thing, not a, like, oh, there's something weird going on. It was just... The meet wasn't set up for a performance like that, so they didn't have the ability to, like, put in the marks properly and all that stuff. So I think what's interesting to see is, like, what he can do in the future, because he's still fairly young in the sport. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he looks up, like you say, looks up to guys like Sam, and I think it'll be cool to see where he goes in the future. And then we get into the women's shot put, another huge event, some surprises. Jessica Ramsey comes out, throws over 1950. I think she did 1956 to claim the bronze medal, make another major team. She was on the Tokyo Olympic team. But Chase Jackson has been the story this whole season, throwing 2084 round 1. And what's crazy about her is she has a bruised knuckle, and from what she claims, palmed a 2084. And I interviewed her following this, and she goes a bit more into detail. But what did you think of Chase's performance? And what do you think of that statement from Chase?
Yeah, right now, dude, like, Chase, like, how we look at Val in discus is how we look at Chase and shot put, you know, in the realm of U.S. throwing. Mm-hmm. Like, Chase has just been dominant, like, for a very long time. You know, last couple of years has been very, very dominant. I think it's kind of crazy that she's doing all of these round one. Like, obviously, that's huge, but it's like, how many of these big tosses has Chase done round one? Quite.
Was her American record round one an iron one?
Ironwood, yeah, it was round one.
Wow.
It was the first toss.
Yeah.
She's just been doing it, so like obviously that's great. But for
one thing I want to add is I think it's worth knowing this is the third best American throw in history. This would have been the American record a year ago.
There you go. But just taking that and saying like that came off your palm, that's crazy work. Like that's crazy work. And like obviously we've had conversations where it's like, yo, we believe that Chase could be the first woman, you know, in this new era to throw 21.
Yeah.
If you're throwing 2084 off your palm, what are we talking about? You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you say that, Sam, because she actually tells me what she thinks she can do. But before we get into that, I do just want to address, you know, Maggie Ewan also made the team getting second place. Frickin' props to Maggie, dude. Mm-hmm. Coming off that severe injury where she couldn't even walk back in the fall to having the second best season of her life performance-wise and the consistency she's had over 1950 and to make another team. Mm-hmm. Like, it's exciting because, dude, like with the shape that Maggie's in, like that's medal, that's podium territory that Maggie's been throwing in. And even potentially the same for Jessica Ramsey, depending on how she peaks. Mm-hmm. So it's like, we're bringing a very strong U.S. women's team. But let's go to this interview with Chase because she has some interesting things to say regarding results. Let's start off her lessons from Paris because I think this takes us into what she could potentially throw, especially because Paris did not go her way. She didn't make it at qualifying. So let's see how that affected her to get her to where she's at right now in this season.
So you seem incredibly confident right now. You've honestly had the season of your life. Paris did not go the way that you were hoping. What do you think you learned from that experience to set you up for this season and to get ready for Tokyo?
Yeah, you know, I think I just, I don't know. I guess I was doing too good for like too many years, and so I guess I needed to be put in my place. That's kind of what Paris did. So, you know, it made me realize like I can't settle. I got to keep going, always grind, even if you're like on the top. So, yeah, I've kind of done that. You know, I really want to cement my place out here. And I think the biggest thing for me is like, I'm like, oh, I guess it taught me a lesson. And now where I'm at, like how far I'm throwing, all I see is like, okay, come LA, then I'll be throwing 22. Like that's how I picture it. Just move on and be a better athlete now.
You think that's possible, 22 meters?
Yeah, I think so. Like after what I've seen myself do in training, I don't think 22 is like out of the question. Like I've seen some pretty far throws. Like obviously I threw the 24 at Ironwood, but I never said that was my training PB still. So yeah, like I've thrown some big throws. I've also warmed up and done some crazy things at meets. So, you know, and I've seen some of the other girls do it. I don't think it's out of the question, no.
So
What do you think of that?
So when I first watched this segment, I actually liked it a lot. I thought her lessons from Paris, I thought that was kind of funny, which is like, you know, it was a lesson, like I was doing too good. I actually personally love that. I think the competitor in me was like, yes, that is, I don't know. I really liked how she said that. Like, opposite of like Rudy with like the humble factor, it's like when you know you're that good, it's just like, I personally, I liked how she went about that answer. But, you know, throwing 22, like that's deep. That's deep. Obviously, like...
Keep in mind, what most people perceive to be the clean world record is 21-24 by Valerie Adams back at the 2011 World Championship. That was her personal best. Everyone widely has the perspective that Valerie Adams is clean. Unfortunately, everyone else above Valerie is lots of question marks. So we're going to go with the assumption that 21-24 is the clean world record. So I just want to set that as the framework.
Absolutely. Let's get that mark first and then work towards 22. I think it's very doable. I think with just how the shape of the sport, I guess, through all the events, anything is possible. I feel like now there's no like real like, nah, that's not going to happen. No. All of these athletes have been putting in extreme work to make those impossibles possible. So, you know, for Chase to be like, yeah, I think 22 is possible, who's to say she's wrong? You know what I mean?
I think it is possible. I think what I was more taken aback by was just the, I guess I'm more used to throwers sort of being the way Rudy is, being a bit more conservative with the remarks. And I'll be honest, when I heard this, I need a double take, which is why I asked her the question again, because I'm like, admittedly, the only other athlete I've heard speak like this, Joe Kovacs. And I love it.
Yeah.
I want more of this. Chase, I want you to talk more like this, because this is how sprinters talk. This is how people that want to get people interested in the sport talk.
Yeah. And
this is coming not even from a place where she's even thinking about how this affects the sport. She's just thinking like, this is who I am, and I'm the best in the world, and this is just what I'm going to do.
100%.
Like, this is what I'm training to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak into existence. And like, when you're at her level, you can do that. And I think it's good, because I think it's like positive self-talk that makes that a reality.
Yeah.
Like, why put limits on yourself? It's for the whole thing. Like, I remember an interview with Reese Hoffa years ago where someone asked him, like, oh, do you think you could break the world record? And his immediate thought was like, oof, the world record, like, only people on drugs have ever thrown close to the world record. I'm not even going to think about the world record. But now we see 1, 2, now potentially 3, 4 guys all challenging the world record at 23 meters. And it's like, we're in a different age of the sport now, where training's better, technique's so much better. We have so many women now that are spinning, therefore they can generate way more power potentially than from the glide could. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, like, the reason why Valerie was so good, all credit to her, like her training and her technique. Valerie's 6'6", and she glided.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course she should have thrown far. She's also a good athlete. It's like, but now with Chase, Sarah Mitten, Jessica Schilder, even Maggie, like women like this, their techniques are so good and they're generating so much force. Mm-hmm. I think 22, we should be thinking that that's a possibility. We've been talking about 21. Someone still needs it at 21.
Yeah.
But we could be talking 22 in not too long.
Yeah.
And I just want to let this play out. What we are watching right now is the men's shot put at the 2025 National Championship. And I had someone correct me by saying this wasn't the deepest competition like in history, but this is the deepest competition at the U.S. Championship in regards to what it took to make the team and who we left off the team. So what we're witnessing right now is Trip Pippery setting a new personal best in round 4 at 22:29. And he is the current leader. And Trip is going nuts. He's doing what Trip does. When Trip hits a big throw, he likes to celebrate. I've compared Trip, when interviewing him in the past, to Adam Nelson. He has that level of energy, excitement, entertainment value that he brings to the sport. So this happens round 4. Now we are going to cut to round 6. Josh Awatunde, who is in 5th place, goes up for his final throw. And as of right now, not on the team. Josh hasn't made a team since 2022. He was the bronze medalist at Hayward. And he was the bronze medalist at the World Championships in 22. Comes out and does this. 22:47, round 6. His previous best throw of the day, 21.63, was a season's best. So he increases his season's best, now personal best, by almost a meter on one throw. And Josh, like, dude, I've said this before. Outside of Krauser, Josh has probably my favorite technique in the sport. I love the way he moves. I think if you're a rotational shot putter and you want to learn how the rotational technique, watch Josh. He's very, very sound. And when he lines it up, he lines it up. So following this, now it's important to see, look at the chart. Tripp was in first, 22.29. Joe Kovacs was originally in first prior to Tripp's throw at 22.07. He is now in third place following Josh's throw. Peyton comes out, who is in fourth place, not on the team currently. He was at 21.74, another big throw over 22 meters. Goes up into second place, 22.38. Now, Tripp Pippery has moved down within two throws back to back. Tripp went from first to third. So now Tripp is in an interesting position where he potentially needs to increase his mark after hitting a brand new personal best in order to solidify his spot on this team. Very good throw, short of 22, isn't going to do any damage in regards to the results on the board. So we've been talking this whole episode about, round 6 magic. This is kind of what we're talking about. And then we have Joe. So Joe comes up, getting ready for his round 6 throw. So within a matter of like a period of 3 minutes, he saw his place on the team go from second to fourth. He is no longer on the team going into this throw. So what's important to know here is Joe has made every team, every major since 2015, where he won the world title in that year, 2015. Throws over 22 again. Fails to make the team. Now, from a perspective that was communicated to me, apparently some throwers were like staring him down prior to the throw, knowing that it was him between him and them making making this team. And what I think is interesting about this is we don't see that on camera simply because of the way they framed it. But it shows a level of rivalry in the sport that we don't often see. And I think it's kind of good for the sport. I think it shows a level of like intensity and care and like knowing that like people's livelihoods are on the line of like what this actually means. Because if you make this team, you now could potentially improve your chances of getting a better contract in the future by doing well at the World Championship. You also could set yourself up to be invited to future meets that could also allow you to make more money. So what I think is easy to compare to is when I was in the mixed zone, I witnessed Noah Lyles walk in following the 200 meter. And he was basically refusing to comment on a certain situation that happened between him and Kenny Bednarik. And what's interesting to me about that whole situation was like, that's something that we always see in sprinting, is like this level of intensity and like gamesmanship to try to get one over on your competitors. And you don't have to comment in regards to like who, what, is it okay or not, but from the perspective of like a fan. What do you think of the idea of like more of that playing with the mind games with other athletes?
That's a good question. I think the more that I think about it, the more that it just allows the sport to dive into the realm of entertainment.
Yeah.
I think knowing the situation, it's like, do people outside of the sport understand what's going on? I think people within the sport, obviously, understand what the severity of a situation like that would be. So it just kind of begs the question. It's like, all right, as a fan, are we understanding what's going on, or are we not? Now, the more that I think about the situation, it's like, these are professional athletes. These are the best of the best. I think something as trivial as that shouldn't bug them or, distract them from the goal, the vision, but sometimes it does. And it's like one of those things where it's like, maybe if it doesn't happen, maybe Joe does make the team.
Well, sorry, continue.
Or maybe he doesn't. We never know. But I think from an entertainment standpoint and creating a storyline, creating some hype, maybe this is the realm that is needed to bring a little more attention.
Yeah. I think I would like to see the throwers comment on this and see what their take is on it as athletes. I know when I asked Daniel Hall about this at Indoor Nationals, about whether or not there should be more rivalries and more, entertainment-based promotion around the sport, he said, oh, well, just throwers aren't like sprinters. We're not like sprinters. We can't do stuff like that. I don't agree with that, because Chase, as we already discussed, can have that type of attitude. And she's actually been on Noah Lyle's interview show before. They're friends. So it's like, I think there is a lot we can borrow from sprinting. And the reality is, like, dude, sprinting is just borrowing from other more popular sports, because they know that's how you make the money. They know attention is the real commodity, and the way you get attention is by getting people to talk. And to get people to talk, you need to do something beyond just be really good at your sport. And I think this is worthwhile to discuss in the future. I would like to see the throwers come out and actually discuss this. Like, did it actually happen the way I described it? Or was it not nearly as big as we think it is? I'm interested to see where this goes. And, one thing I do want to discuss, though, is Joe did not go through the mixed zone following this competition. From what was told me by the other throwers, as soon as he realized that he didn't make the team following this mark, he packed up his stuff and he just went out the tunnel. And you're not supposed to go out the tunnel. Apparently some officials were chasing after him saying, no, you can't go that way. But the thing is, how are you going to stop a 330-pound pissed off Joe Kovacs? You're just not. So he actually didn't. I was waiting for him through the interview area, because that's where all the throwers walk through after they're done the competition. They lead all the athletes there. That's how they execute this whole process. And didn't see him, didn't know where he was. He apparently just walked out of the stadium with his bags and no one could stop him. So it's interesting to think, what was Joe's mindset after that? Because he has made every team for 10 years, a streak that most athletes in the USATF, USA Track and Field, even some of the best of all time can't even make a claim like that. And to be having 10 years of dominance. So this is the first interview he had. He won the meet in Hungary prior to this, where I think he threw over 22:30, and then he goes to Silesia over the weekend, where he gets third. And this is the first public interview we get to see Joe have following the national championship, and what his perspective on the whole event was.
So welcome back after 1 year in Silesia. You know Silesia very well. Last year you won. This time it's third place. What is difference this year?
This year wasn't too good. The whole season's been pretty bad this year. So, get third here is never fun, but it's always a great place to come compete. The crowd's amazing. The organizers who put this competition on, we joke about how everything you wish you could have, they provide for us, from training to ice baths to this great environment and this crowd. We love coming here.
Well, you're just coming back from the U.S. trials. You had a really hard day at the U.S. qualification. How have you put that in perspective?
I'm getting old, and it's a bad day to have, family was sick with COVID, but you still got to go, and that's the way the U.S. goes. And I didn't throw terrible through 22, but it's that's the way it goes. But counting down the days, and trying to enjoy it on my way out.
So where else will you compete this season? Do you already have a plan?
Yeah, I'm going to Lausanne, and I guess I probably just qualified for Zurich. I think I'm probably in there. So those two, and then I'll be done.
So you'll be ready for the next year for sure, even more hungry for the next medals.
We'll see. We always we take every year and take a breath, and having a good time with our family. We're always trying to decide what we're going to do next. But for now, we'll regroup and make a good decision after that.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you, guys.
What do you think of that statement? Is he done?
I don't know. I don't think so. Obviously, like, missing out on this Worlds team is kind of tough. I'm sure he was pissed in the moment, because it's like you kind of left a little bit on the table for someone else, take advantage. So like I'm sure he was very annoyed, very pissed off, but at the end of the day, like, he's still one of the GOATs of this event.
He's the number 2 all time.
Number 2 all time.
Let's be real, if Ryan Krauser didn't exist, he would have been the best of all time, and he would have won all those Olympic and world titles.
Yeah. And it's like, obviously, you got to accept that for what it is and move on. And it's just like, obviously, he's still throwing far. It's he threw 22. Like, we got to put that in perspective. Like, he got 4th throwing 22. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, it's tough, but it's one of those things where it's like, you got to accept it, learn from however they can learn from it, and just try to move on. Now, do they continue to throw? I think so. Like, I do, like, 28 LA. Are you going to retire before then? Maybe take a little break. I don't know, but like,
it would be interesting to see him take a break with next year not having a major.
Yeah.
But I think what's important to realize is, like, dude, Joe's 35. And he said before that he wants LA to be his last meet. But after a competition like this, you start questioning that. I think what's important to also realize is, like, Reese Hoffa has thrown until he was 38. I think Brian Oldfield actually broke the American record at the time in 84 when he was 38. So there is, like, a precedent that you can still throw far into your late 30s. But like with Reese, like, he had one of the best years of his career when he was 36 in 2014, but then he was done by 2016. Like, he went from, throwing high 21s to 22 meters to being, like, barely throwing high 20s. So it's interesting to see, like, where he could go. I think him taking a year off would probably be good for him.
Yeah. I don't know. Just, like, get the mentals right. Just take care of your body, take care of your family, and just kind of take it easy, and then, just prepare for LA.
Yeah. One final thing I'll add is, like, he did win the big invite. I don't think it was a Diamond League, but it was, like, at the very least, like, a world challenge, throwing like 22:38 following nationals. Yeah. So it's like another 22 meter meet, and it's like his season's best was like almost 22:50. Like, if we're calling that a bad season, like, he had years when he was in his mid to late 20s where he wouldn't throw those marks. Yeah. Like, that's where I'm kind of like, it's hard for me to say, like, oh, is this like a bad season? But from his perspective, I think, his only goals are world team, world medal.
Yeah. I mean, when you've done it, the 13 years, 10 years consistently, like, not making it, obviously you're going to say, you're going to chop it up, be like, yeah, that wasn't the season I wanted.
Yeah, so he's been a pro for 13 years. Think about that. He graduated in 2012.
Yeah.
That's wild.
When you set that standard of, like, I'm going to make this team, I'm going to medal, and you get to a point where you don't do either.
Yeah.
100%. You're going to be like, yeah, this is probably an awful season. Like,
so you got to think about this. Second to Krauser, he is the winningest medalist of all time. He is every single major, 15. So I'll just lay it down here before we close out on this section. 2015 gold, 2016 silver, 2017 silver, 2019 gold, 2021 silver, 2022 silver, 2023 bronze. 2024 silver.
Yeah.
That's 9 medals, brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dude.
9 medals.
Yes.
Dude, I hope Joe keeps going. I hope he continues. It's going to be exciting to see how he does in the Diamond League final, like how much of that fire is going to be in his belly left over from nationals. And yeah, well, I hope to see you keep throwing, Joe. I'm a big fan. So as we close out the national championship, what's had to be one of the best national championships in history, we're going to go out to the rest of the world because this weekend in particular also hosted some of the biggest throws in the history of our sport. As we see Zhang Jila out of China at only 18 years old, and I can't believe I'm saying this, breaks the U20 World Junior Hammer Throw record. And also, I believe she broke the U23 world record. Mm-hmm. Again, 18 years old, throwing 77.24. And, kudos to both throws. We've been using a few of his posts for today's show. Guy does an amazing job bringing the news and information in the world of throwing to you guys. So make sure you guys follow him on Instagram. That's @BothThrows. But he managed to also find the video of this throw from the stadium that it happened. For context, she was the U20 world record holder before this throw at over 74 meters, adds almost 3 meters to her personal best. And this is at the Chinese National Championship. 77 meters at 18 years old. Sam, I don't know what else to say except that's scary.
Yeah, dude, that's a deep toss, dude. That's extremely far. Like, we have people who have been in this sport for numerous years who, one, haven't thrown that far, and two, if they did, it took them a very, very long time. Like, this next gen of athletes is, like, extremely scary with how good they are at an early age.
Do you know what my first thought was when I saw this? Because I think Dan McQuaid informed me of it. I think he was the first one to tell me. Because we were in the mix zone at the time in between interviewing athletes. My first thought was, that would have won the Olympics last year.
That's actually crazy when you put it in that perspective.
Like, this throw would have won the Olympics. If she hit this last year in Paris, I know it's a big, big if. And kudos to China. They are developing a crazy women's hammer throw squad because they did have the bronze medalists in that competition last year. But 77.24, and it's like she's also breaking the U23 record. Like, I guess one other thing to add, because another metric that popped up in my head. So Rachel Richardson and Ramona, we had the privilege of watching her throw 78.80. That's number 5 all time. 1.5 meters less than the number 5 throw all time. I don't think this is a top 10 mark all time, or at least top 10 athlete, but she's getting there.
Yeah.
At 18. So it's going to be interesting to see come the world championships. We might see an 18-year-old potentially medal. There's so many women out there who can throw over 77, 78 meters, but on the day, you just never know.
Yeah. You never know. I think it's really just going to come down to experience. That's just going to be of experience and just making sure you're in shape and just showing up.
I think the benefit to her is that, it's in Japan, so it is an Asian championship, so that's not really too far. You have to travel and deal with a time change, so that could work to her benefit. And, we can't have a throw show discussing the outdoor season without at least talking about Alekna once, right? So this was the weekend that, multiple countries had their national championships, including, as we discussed, the Chinese national championship. Well, there's also the Lithuanian national championship, and Alekna had to show up for the homeboys, throwing 72.15. This marks his 3rd or 4th meet over 72 this season. I think it's his 3rd meet, right?
Yeah, I believe something along the lines of that.
So he threw 72.
Ramona, yeah, he threw 72.
Regionals,
yeah. And
they threw 72
yeah.
here. So this must be a first. Has there ever been a season where there have been 3 were 3 meets where a guy has thrown 72? Because obviously Christian Che had 2 meets over 72.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Che.
I feel like Cantor and maybe Mykolas' father, Virgilius, may have had seasons where they had a few meets over 72. But, dude, his consistency is off the charts. And I think what blows my mind is because I always go back to this. It's like, man, what went wrong at the NCAA championship that every meet he throws at is basically 70 plus?
Yeah. I have no clue.
But look at these throws, man. This looks good. I also think I could be wrong, but I think this is the same facility he did that collab with I Show Speed.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know it's hard to see from the angle here, but what do you see on this throw?
For me, I just feel like the length of him getting around is like he looks what I've been calling like big, like just the positions that he's getting to just allows him to create as much tension as possible, and then he's gonna rip the finish.
Yeah.
So like, there's not much to say, dude. He just looks good, bro. He's throwing 72. I think the one thing, this is kind of like outside the point.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that he's throwing this far because, like, a lot of people were saying, like, all right, obviously the Ramona distances were inflated with the win, whatever,
Right.
yada, 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 whatever. But a few people was like, oh, like, let's see him do this somewhere else. Let's see him do this, in a stadium. Let's see him do this elsewhere. And it's like, dude, he's been doing it.
Yeah.
Like, he's been throwing far. And it's like all those people who've been complaining about Ramona and, like, the wind are, like, very quiet because it's like, dude, he's doing it. And, like, it's not just him. Yeah. There are several people who are throwing extremely far.
I was getting crap on last episode in the comments section, which is fine. I actually like when I get crap because I think it's important to be critiqued. But people were getting annoyed that I used the title, Alekna breaks another world record. And I'm like, you guys aren't happy either way. You're mad if he breaks the world record in an open field area, which is what the world record was prior to him having it. That's what the conditions Jürgen Schultz threw in. Or you're mad when I say he breaks a world record because now he actually did it in a stadium and he's the furthest stadium thrower of all time. Like, I think people just don't like Alekna at this point. Like, you can't win. It's like he has let's just say the all conditions world record, and he has the stadium world record, and let's just throw on top he also has the rain world record. Like, because there's just not enough qualifiers to say that this man's the world record holder. Like, I don't know what else you want from us people, but like what I'm hoping for, and he said in the interview that we discussed last episode, he definitely seems to have a fire in his belly regarding this world championship. I want to see him get a gold medal. I know he's super young and he still has a lot of time to define his career, but like, dude, at this point, it's like when you're having this many meets, having these many historic marks, it's time to like put pedal to the metal and like show everybody what you got.
That's exactly what I was thinking, dude. It's just like his foot's already, on the pedal. Like, just keep it going. Just let it rock.
And, we've been talking about, this has actually been a very competitive season for the men, for hammer throw as a whole, men's and women's. Ethan Katzberg, last year, I thought Ethan was kind of like, he was going to be someone kind of excelling above everyone else in his event. I thought he was going to end up becoming like the Valerie Allman of the hammer throw. But he's really starting to show some chinks in his armor. Now, he went 80 meters again, over 81.33 at the Canadian National Championship. Big throw for Ethan. But when you see like what other people are throwing, like, Rudy Winkler, or who we're going to speak later in this episode, Ben's Halász, like, it's not going to be a cakewalk for him, at the World Championship like we thought how the Olympics went down. We might be seeing, it might be like 81, 82 meters to make this podium given these performances. I know it's not the best angle to see technique, but what do you think on Ethan's throw here?
Yeah, I mean, this video is kind of tough, but I mean, he looks smooth. I agree with what you were saying before. Like, it's not going to be a cakewalk this year. I feel like there's just too many throwers right now who have thrown far on numerous occasions. Obviously, Ethan is one of those guys. And, obviously he did his thing last year. But I think this year it's going to be a little tougher. I also feel like kind of like my first thought is like Rock Lee when he just drops the weights.
Yeah.
We're going to have that moment. Yeah. Ethan's going to drop the weights and he's going to go crazy. But I think that just the scope of hammer throw right now, I feel like other people are also going to drop their weights, and it's just going to make a heck of a battle.
Okay, hypothetical. What if the same thing happens like last year, round 184? How does the comp respond?
It's going to be tough, but I actually think that this year more of the athletes are closer to, that 84 mark. I'm not saying they've thrown 84 or like 83 high or anything, but like they're closer to getting to 84 that I feel like they'd be able to respond.
It's also one of those things that's not unexpected. Like that was probably, I know he threw 84 earlier in the season, but seeing that round 1 at an Olympics, that probably shocked the field. Yeah. Like people probably was like, yo, yeah. this comp changed from what I thought it was going to be. And I think because of that, now there's the expectation, okay, 84 might be what it takes to win. Mm-hmm. Or don't mean to over predict, but maybe even 85. Like highly unlikely, but it's possible. Mm-hmm. So understanding that that's the standard we're now at, dude, it could be the same thing that we saw when Ryan Krauser first started pushing out 23 or, at least mid 22s. Everyone else followed suit. And that's probably what's going on here.
Good.
I love it.
Yeah, like good.
Rising tide lifts all ships. And also at the Canadian Championship, when you think about he's the reigning Olympic champion, she's the reigning Olympic champion, he was the reigning world champion, she's the reigning world champion. Cameron Rogers, another meet over 77 meters. We spoke about it earlier in the episode. The U.S. women, while they are possibly the deepest team we've ever assembled, Cameron Rogers is very, very hard to beat. Yeah. What's crazy is she has PRs. Her PR is less than Rachel Richardson's, Brooke Anderson's, and DeAnna Price's. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the difference between her and all of them is her consistency at major championships.
Yeah, it's very high.
She throws so close to her personal best when it counts. That's what makes her so dangerous.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what DeAnna, Brooke, Rachel are going to have to contend with when they get out there, including Janae Casnavoid. Because Janae has also thrown over 78. Is if you want to beat Cameron, you have to be at your absolute best because she's going to be at her absolute best.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I think we even have a better video here to see her throw. I actually really like this video a lot. What are you seeing on her movement? And it's like business as usual for Cameron, but what do you think? How do you think she looks shaping up for the Worlds?
Low center of gravity. The ball is stretching left. She accelerates through. Like you can see those last two turns just really turn up, right. And all of that energy just gets transferred into the finish. Just thinking about Cameron and just like her performances at these major championships, it's like, dude, she is going to maximize all 6 throws.
Yep.
If you want to beat Cameron, you cannot leave anything on the table. Like you cannot do it. And we saw it earlier this year when she hit her PR. I believe that was in one of the later rounds.
Yep.
I believe DeAnna was in that competition as well, and Cameron came. I forget.
She matches the level of her competitor.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like based on wherever you're throwing at, she is going to do what it takes to win.
Absolutely. I was gonna say I forget if it was last round or not, but I know it was towards the back end. But yeah, she leveled up, so you can't leave anything on the table. She will take that opportunity.
Yeah, no, good luck to Cameron. I mean, I think personally we're going to both say we have a bias. We'd love to see a USA sweep, but like Cameron's dangerous in all respect to her because she could walk away with another world title. But, we'll see what happens in Tokyo. So another big throw that happened over the weekend that was a bit of a surprise is Luiz Mauricio out of Brazil hits a new personal best in the javelin throw. Now, this is an athlete I'm not too familiar with, but throwing over 91 meters to break the South American continental record. I love watching 90-meter javelin throws. I don't know about you. I might not be the biggest student of the sport, but it is one of the coolest looking throwing events you can watch when you see that javelin fly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's really cool, like, when you see, like, the edge of the sector and his mark is just, like, so much further than that. It's like, dude, like, he's about to hit the other, like, he's about to hit the track.
Yeah.
Like, he's about to hit the other side of the track. And that is absolutely wild. Like, just thinking about it and then just seeing the video, it's like, that's not that much further. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you just, I don't know, put a little mustard behind it.
Yeah, and this is the number 2 in the world throw in the world behind Julian Weber's throw from Doha.
Yeah.
So, like, we might be seeing a new name, added to the hat of regarding, who could potentially medal at the World Championship. I don't know about you, but I haven't really seen too much from Nadim this season. I know Yego's competing. I know Chopra's competing. Obviously, Weber has the world lead. But I'm curious to see, and honestly, comment section, if you kind of have an idea where Nadim's been result-wise. I think the interesting thing about Javelin is I feel like it's more prone to be one of those events because it beats up your body so much you probably can't compete in as much as the other throwing events, that I feel like it's easier to almost peak with and kind of be like in the shadows and then show up at the World Championship. You can tell me if I'm wrong because you're the throws coach, but I feel like that's the vibe I get from the event.
No, I definitely feel like there's some truth to that statement.
Yeah. What do you see on his release here, his run-up?
He smacks it.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, obviously, you have that rhythm. I think one of the coolest thing is in the javelin is, like, especially when you get the clap, you can match your rhythm to the clap, so you can just feel the energy as you're going through. But as he goes through, like, he accelerates down the runway. He transfers that energy through his crossovers and just, really just slams on the brakes into the finish and just transfers everything into the delivery. Like, you can't ask for anything more.
Yeah, one thing, what you said about the clap, we'll actually get into that later as we discuss one of our teammates' throws later on in the episode, because I think that's an important factor in regards to one of the events that we're hosting each year at Garage Strength. So I mentioned him earlier with Bence Halász being one of the guys that is going to be one of the front runners from podium position here at Worlds. That's because of the same weekend Bence Halász set a new personal best. This is a pretty sizable personal best too, because he set one earlier this season. I think at like 81.66, but he goes 83.18 to pass Rudy for the world lead by only 2 centimeters. But 83.18 here. Huge throw. He also beat Ethan Katzberg in this event. So I think this is like considered like one of the biggest hammer comps in the world each year. What do you think of this throw? I think you do have a solid way to see his technique, but dude, I just see like the aggression on each and every turn getting faster. And just like as soon as he let that go, he knew that was a monster.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, he's popping off. Like, he knows it's a big one. It's like, and you can attest to this. It's like when you execute your technique, right, sometimes you just know. Yeah. Like, there are times where, like, you don't know. Like, oh, that felt smooth. But, like, there are other times where it's like, like, you just hit it. And I feel like this is one of those tosses where, like, he knew as soon as he let go, it's like, dude, that's the one. And it's like, you make a statement. Obviously, you have the little bit chip. Like, you make a statement. And I feel like that's what he did.
Forgive me for forgetting this. Did you feel that when you threw 60 your first time? Like when you released it like off the finger?
No, because I was having a panic attack when I was throwing 60. The first time I was like, dude, just breathe. So the answer to that, no. But the second time, like, I hit 60, I felt pretty good with it.
Yeah. What's funny is when I hit my overall personal best, I just remember, like, the meet I was having, like, I was not expecting to, like, do anything in that comp, and I just randomly started, like, hitting a personal best. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know how to feel about it. And I don't even remember if it felt like it's like, oh, that's a new PB or not. But, like, I think it's so dependent on where you're at, like, mentally, physically. Because sometimes, like, it's rare. Sometimes you have personal best where you don't even feel like you're in that good of shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is awesome by Ben Salaz. It's shaping up to be like I said earlier with Katzberg, it's going to be shaping up to be a very interesting hammer competition for the men and the women, because we're now starting to see athletes and performances that are shaping up to be some of the best in history. Mm-hmm. We have 3 guys that within the last year and a half have thrown over 83 meters. And it's like we could be seeing an 82-meter podium, which does take us back to like, 10, 15 years ago of how the hammer throw was back in like the mid 2000s. And that was like one of its biggest peaks. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch the hammer in Tokyo. And we're still not done talking about discus because, we had Christian Shea, Mykolas Alekna, Matthew Denny. Let's just have another athlete go over 72 meters this year. Might as well. So Ralford Mullings breaks the Jamaican record. He's the number 7 thrower of all time. Thank you again, both Rose, for showing us this footage. He competed at Ramona, which I thought was interesting because I was going to expect Ralford to throw at NACACs, because he was the Jamaican leader this year, throwing over 69. But he's, stayed in the United States. He lives in Oklahoma, I believe, and went to Ramona. They had a pretty big invite the last week or so. I think it's like the last chance qualifier almost for Worlds in case you didn't have your mark yet. But Mullings, 72.01. I know what people are going to say, oh, it's Ramona. But, like, dude, this guy threw 69, like, in stadium. So cool. You're so smart, you're so witty, yay. Be another person on a track forum who's writing essays about how wind is ruining the sport and how we need more Kenyan distance runners at national championships. Sorry, that was kind of mean. But yeah, Ralford going 72. This is a good throw, man. He looks I think he looks a little more jumpy than I usually see him, like in the middle. But beyond that, it's like, dude, he gets around really well. Right, center, left down quick. Stays on it super long. 72, like, dude, I think we even said, like, earlier this year, I was like, oh, is Ralford going to go 72? I think we both said that specifically.
Mm-hmm. I think looking at his throw, I think one thing different about this is I feel like he opens up on the left just a little bit more than he has earlier this season. I feel like beforehand he was very much like Alekna, where that left foot kind of stops and then he like attacks.
Yeah.
Where I feel like this one he's getting a little bit more rotational out of the back, which just sets him up in the middle to transfer more. Obviously, like, he has a really good finish. Like, he's thrown 69 on several occasions. But I feel like just allowing that left to really kind of open up more will just allow him to be a little bit bigger as he's getting around. He catches deep. He catches super deep and just cranks it forward.
Maybe you can attest to this because you've thrown at Ramona a few times. Do you change your technique when you throw Ramona?
I personally haven't.
But psychologically, do you feel like you think you should?
Nah, I just smack it. I know, like, there's been talks, like, ideally you want to hit it down the right sector line.
Right.
Because then, the wind will blow it back in. But me personally, it's like, I'm just going in there and I'm just trying to execute what I want to do. I don't want to, like, overthink about the wind and then, like, jeopardize myself because it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not guaranteed that you're just going to hit this crazy mark. Like, my first year, I went down, I was like, oh, I'm about to hit 60, I'm about to pop off. And I ended up throwing 58, which, I've thrown 59 outside of Ramona and, like, dead wind. Yeah. So it's like, it's a skill to do. And it's like, here, it's like, you just want to, I think if you just go with your normal technique, you're gonna be fine. But if you try to do anything like crazy, it's just not going to work. Yeah. The wind's going to blow it over.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I chose to compete at Ramona this late in the season prior to the Worlds. I actually had this talk with Ryan Hirschberger prior to filming this regarding, like, oh, why didn't he throw at NACACs? And Hirschberger's like, dude, he probably lives like an hour from Ramona. So it's like you can stay in the United States, get another meet in, and if you're feeling good and you hit a PR, now it's a good confidence booster going to Worlds, which I think makes sense.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, it's readily accessible to obviously him, but like anyone can go and anyone could throw there. It's just getting there.
Yeah, well done, Ralford. Awesome national record. We were talking earlier about how we were going to discuss one of our biggest meets that we have each year. So the biggest shot put comp that we host every single year is our PowerFest competition. It's actually one of the reasons why I didn't have a throw show within the last week, because Sam here was also coaching at our throws camp, which takes place the entire week prior to the PowerFest meet. The PowerFest meet is basically our big twilight nighttime competition. What was cool about this year is we actually had a live band playing. And you know how I was talking about earlier with the jab throw, he was talking about the clap. One thing that we did uniquely with this band was we actually had the drummer set up the cadence for the clap, and we got the whole crowd involved, and it led to some pretty big throws. And one of them was Eric Favors, Garage Strength's own Irish national record holder, 7-time Irish national champion. He set a new season's best of 20:48. Eric's been struggling with some injury issues this whole season, so he's been needing to have like a certain distance he needs to hit in order for Ireland to select him for the national team to compete at Worlds. As of right now, it looks like this is a pretty good throw to get him onto that team, but nothing's guaranteed, at least for another week or two, based on how the world rankings shake out and the Road to Tokyo list shake out. But big throw for Eric, 20:48, under the lights, huge reaction. What do you see on Eric's throw here, and what can you tell us about the PowerFest atmosphere?
7-time national champion Eric Favors. Yeah, nah, dude, this was a huge toss for Eric. Obviously, you know, to be under the lights, we got a band, we got a crowd, like the energy was super high. I feel like this was like the perfect time to do it. Right. Obviously, you know, Worlds is coming up and Eric represents Ireland, so it's like, dude, like we got to make sure that you are in good shape to compete well. Yeah. 1, to qualify, but 2, to compete well. Yeah. And I feel like this meet was like the perfect scenario for him. It's like, dude, like we're under the lights, you know, you've been training super well. Him and Dan have been locking in, and it's just like, all right, now all that's left is to do it. And this meet for him, he did it. Like his series was super good. You know, this one we got the energy going. He pops off, like he hits, like he knows. He pops off and he's, come on, like let's go. Like it was just like the perfect scenario for Eric. And, you know, I'm super excited for him. I believe with this mark, he hit the B standard. So I'm pretty sure he's in a good spot to compete at World. So, you know, big congrats to Eric. And I know he's going to, you know, elevate even more.
Yeah, I hope this is good enough to get him in. I think he's probably trying to do another competition to see if he can increase that mark. Nothing's for certain, at least for another week or so. So he's still waiting on to be selected by the Irish national team. But kudos to Eric, big season's best. I think this is going to set him up for a great next year. Now that he's fully healthy, because we both know that he's physically capable of throwing, you know, 21 plus. It's just a matter of like having your body line up, having your technique line up. And I actually think this is one of his stronger technical throws as well.
Oh, absolutely, dude. And like the crazy thing is like he looks even better now.
Yeah.
Like I've been able to see.
Practice.
Yeah, I've been able to see some of his tosses, dude, and like him and Dane have really been clicking.
That's awesome, because I feel like I like to see Eric throw well at this time of year, because I feel like he's had issues in the past where he struggled to maintain form throughout the long season, especially for how long this year was, with Worlds being in September. Like normally Worlds would be taking place right now in most years, but instead we have to wait another month. So I think that's awesome to hear. I think that's going to set him up well for Tokyo. He's also in a very good mental space as well. And Eric wasn't the only one to have a huge weekend. The week later, we have Obie Amachi, Garage Strength's own Nigerian discus thrower, one of 2 Nigerian discus throwers, and she gets very close to breaking her national record set by Garage Strength's own Cici Onyekwere Lions, and also the African record. And I believe this is the number 2 African throw of all time, 64.80 in Ramona. Obie has had a very interesting season. She's had some big marks early on, struggled to maintain form and consistency with the marks that she was hoping for, but she's finishing out strong, 64.80 auto queue for the world championship. So she's made that team 100% for certain. This is a great looking throw for Obie. Obie has one of those athletes that we know is just a freaking powerhouse when she lines it up. And I think this is great to set her up for the next season. And to me, it's proof that it's like she has way more left to give. What do you see on Obie's throw here?
Absolutely, dude. Like, I remember the first time I was training with Obie, I was like, wow, dude, like she just like cranks it. Yep. And I feel like that is a skill that a lot of our discus, like the GS discus women have. And it's just like all of
our women discus throwers are just absolute like powerhouses. Like, you know, we've talked about friggin' Sarah Mitten being a Beyblade. Like, they're all like Beyblades on. Pardon the pun. This isn't trying to insinuate on steroids. It's a joke. It's like a Beyblade on steroids because of how fast their rip is, especially with the discus.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, dude, like. It's insanely twitchy, and it's just like making sure that, you know, the technique is smooth, efficient, you know, you're in a good spot where you can apply all of that into the delivery, and this is that perfect scenario. You know, she gets around, she's smooth, she just hits it. I didn't check the series, but dude, you went 64.80, you qualified for Worlds, you can't ask for anything more. So big congrats to Obie, and I'm gonna be watching at Worlds.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and it's exciting to see what she's got in the future. I think, you know, we're looking at Obie. I 100% think she can there's a couple more meters in there. Easy. And as we get it, we're going to finish off with the NACAC Championship. This is the North American Continental Championship. Was held in the Bahamas. We actually had 2 garage strength athletes competing in this event. Sam Mattis and Gabby Jacobs, who we talked about earlier from the U.S. National. But the winner of the men's discus was Frederick Dakers. And this kind of goes back to, I was surprised Ralford didn't go and compete at this meet to try to get more points. Mainly because he did compete in the NCAA most of the year. So when you compete in the NCAA, you actually don't score that many points despite your performances or how deep the fields are, just by nature of it being a completely separate entity from almost what World Athletics is. But, you know, Frederick takes the win here. It's nice to see Frederick back into form, because honestly, I don't know about you, but he's always been one of my favorite guys to watch. I think he has one of the best techniques. Like when he's on, Frederick is the guy you want to watch to learn about how to throw a discus.
Absolutely. You know, when I was looking up the results, spoiler warning, Sam got second, and I was like, oh, like who beat him? And I saw that it was Frederick, and I was like, okay, like I'm okay with that, even though I'm super biased and I'm Team GS. I was like, dude, like he's such a good guy, like he's a great technician, he's big, dude, like he knows how to apply everything into the throw, and I was like, okay, like that makes a lot of sense, like I'm okay with that. So, you know, big shout out to Frederick. You know, he did his thing, he's back, you know, over 65. I believe he threw over 65 earlier this year, but it's good to see that, you know, he's still within shape and, you know, can win another medal.
He threw 66 in Ramona.
I was supposed to say, yeah. I was supposed to say.
Actually, funny enough, one little side story is like when we were on our way back from Ramona, he shared a plane seat with Andrew.
Yeah.
And I don't think Andrew fully was aware who he was, and they were just talking about anime for like an hour.
Yeah.
So he's a big anime fan. We always appreciate that. Frederick's a great dude. But we also saw that Daniel Hall actually beat Rudy to win the NACAC championship in the men's hammer throw as well as Joshua Tunde, who was I don't think he might be the defending NACAC championship. Actually, I don't even know how often the NACAC is competing because I feel like it's one of those meets. I don't know if it's every 4 years or what. But Josh, who was, you know, the national champion, actually threw the same mark that he had to set the NACAC meet record, which was 21.63. So he backed up his win at the national championship. And like Sam has previously stated, we also had big performances from the garage strength team as Sam Mattis goes 64.06 to claim the silver medal. Gabby Jacobs goes 57.07 to also claim the silver medal in the women's event. And one thing that was super surprising to me about this when the results came in was Sam has been such a stalwart of professional discus throwing internationally for such a long time. I've just assumed he's had an international medal, but this is actually the first international medal he's ever won. And that's crazy to me.
Yeah, dude, like you said, he's been in the game at a high level for, quite a while now.
Since like 2018.
Yeah, and this is his first medal. That's actually a crazy statistic, a crazy fact. But on the other hand, Gabby, this is her first international championship, and this is her first team, and this is her first major medal.
Yeah. That's awesome for Gabby. So the first team she ever makes, she medals. That's
international medal. Because she obviously competed at national.
Yeah.
But like
that's
international
what I mean.
medal.
That's what I mean.
I want to make sure on my end that someone didn't, get confused with that.
And the crazy thing about the NACAC is because it's a continental championship, there are so many points you get from competing here that really elevate your score on the road to Tokyo. Yeah. So this is a very smart meet to compete in if you were able to. But yeah, 64.06 for Sam. I know he was not really thrilled with his performance here. He also wasn't really thrilled with his performance at nationals either. But to me, it's like, these are the meets where it's like you check them off, you do your thing, you move on. The real goal is the world championship. So if he thinks 64 meters is a bad meet for him, that means he's in pretty good shape. Yeah. And I think Gabby, it's like she's still building up her career, building up those reps. And honestly, the fact she saved that throw is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And, to finish out the NACAC, we also had, Janae Casnavoid winning the women's hammer throw, throwing over 74 meters. Janae, another meet over 74. She's developing a really consistent season following up her qualifying for Worlds at the National Championship. And then we also saw Evelyn Bliss out of Bucknell, who, shout out to her coach, Ryan Protzman. She actually won the National Championship in Eugene, as well as she won the World University Games, throwing over 60 meters to hit a new personal best. And that happened in between nationals and us recording the throw show. So that was very good points for her. And with her winning the NACAC, again, massive points for her. So she should be on that world team. I know we were not sure if we were going to have a women's jav thrower competing at Worlds, but with the amount of valuable points she got at major competitions, she should be in good running for the world team right now. And, to add on to Gabby Jacobs' performance, we also had Samantha Hall win the women's discus, throwing over 61 meters. Samantha Hall actually threw really well at Ramona. She threw over 63, 64 in Ramona. I think she competes for the University of Cincinnati. So well done for all these women. This is incredible competition. Shout out Janae. I think this is going to be a huge meet for her. Hopefully I get to see her on the podium again come Worlds. And to finally close out the NACAC championship and this very, very long episode of the Throw Show, we saw Curtis Thompson hit not a personal best, but just short of it, which is huge for him, especially at this time of the year, over 87 meters, 87.24. Curtis is such a good dude, had two throws also over 86 meters. Again, shout out both throws for all the great statistics and these videos. Curtis is having the season of his life. And, with an 87 meter throw on the day, we seriously could be looking at podium potential for Curtis. Mm-hmm. And just the consistency that he has throwing these big marks at big meets. This is the best he's ever looked. What do you see? What do you see on Curtis's throw? I know you're only seeing basically his run up here, but what are you seeing about his whole season and what he's looking like going into Tokyo?
Dude, yeah, like you said, this is his best season, arguably. He opened up really, really well earlier this year, and I feel like he's been just very consistent. Yeah. I've always liked Curtis as a thrower. I feel like he's stone cold. I feel like he just doesn't get fazed by anything.
No, he's very stoic.
He's very stoic, dude. And I feel like just being that type of person you know, as he transitions into, you know, these major championships, I feel like that's just going to help him, you know, stay consistent.
Yeah.
You know, like his movement is super, you know, smooth. He puts everything into the finish, and it's like, dude, like you said, if he can do this at Worlds, he might, you know, medal.
Yeah.
You know, he might medal, or he might, you know, be within the top 5.
100%. And also shout out to Sarah Mitten. She also had another meet over 20 meters here to also win the NACAC championship. But that's going to be it for today, as we are closing out this exceptionally long episode of the Throw Show. This is probably the longest episode we've ever done, and we also did a near 2-hour episode with Ramona. So thank you for sticking with us. And at the end of the day, you know, we produce this show so we can educate throwers just like you on how to throw farther, get stronger, become a better thrower, enjoy the sport more. Hopefully you're entertained, but ultimately we want to make sure that you're a better thrower. So if you do want to improve your throwing, improve your strength as a thrower, improve your overall physicality as an athlete, make sure you click the link down below and check out our Throws University strength programs. We have multiple programs that you can choose from, as well as choosing custom programming written by Coach Sam Weeks here. He's worked with some of the top talent in the United States and the world, Olympians, as well as coaching some of the top high school athletes in the country. If you like to improve your throwing, make sure you click that link down in the description so you can drop some bombs. Peace.